Are you ready for the coming of the kingdom? Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah, a special week of readings pertaining to Sukkot and the coming kingdom of Yeshua from the heavens to reign upon the earth. Before we get started, let me just mention to you that there was no video out yesterday for those that were looking due to the day being Yom Kippur. And I trust that your fast was meaningful. I pray that it would be easy for you and that there would be a right focus. I'll share something very quickly with you that I gained personally. And that is that it wasn't so much for me a day of repenting for things personal, although that was indeed a part. But the major focus of Yom Kippur this year was repenting and asking Yah to deliver us nationally, corporately, both houses, the house of Yehuda and the house of Israel, that Yah would restore us and bring us back to righteousness. A second part of that was to rejoice in the effective work of Yeshua to accomplish the very thing that I was asking for. Yeshua's giving of himself was perfect, exactly what was required. There is now no need of any man, woman, or child to give their lives in behalf of Am Israel. It's already been done. That work is completed. And when Yah looks at Yeshua's atoning work in our behalf, he is 100% completely satisfied. So what remains now is for you and I to call upon him and ask that that work be effective in our behalf, personally, but also corporately. And as we are now preparing, many of us, to go to Sukkot or to experience Sukkot, however that's going to be for you, here in America, it's a phenomenon of going Sukkoting, as Hanok Young says. The idea is that we live temporarily in tents or now RVs, or for some of us, a temporary motel room, whatever the American mindset of Sukkot really is. But we live temporarily. We live out again in the outdoors. We live among ourselves as community. For those of you that have no one to gather with, you're isolated, you're disconnected, and you really don't have a place to be. For you, you will be putting up maybe a tent in your backyard, building a sukkah of some means on your property, on a balcony, however it is that you do it, and you're by yourself. I want you to know that here's somebody that applauds you. I stand up and cheer for you, because you embody the heart of Messiah greater than those who gather with hundreds or even perhaps 1,000 or more. Because you're faithful, and you persevere, and you endure. You do what is right even though there's no one to do what is right with you. You stand ahead of me, far ahead of me in the line when it comes to entering the kingdom. So I applaud you. Now, many of us are excited about the idea of Sukkot. For us here in Virginia, it is a beautiful time of the year. The weather forecast is exceptional, about 70 degrees and low humidity during the day, mid-40s or just above at night. Perfect time for campfires, for fellowshipping outdoors, for celebrating and living together, camping out. We have planned, we have prayed, and now it's time to pack up and get ready for the experience. Sukkot is not supposed to be, however, an Americanized party version of a sacred, set-apart assembly that we read about in Leviticus chapter 23. We tend to Americanize it with harvest festival mindsets and so forth. But it's a time to meet with our King. It's a time to anticipate the coming of the kingdom. I want to read a verse to you found in Luke chapter number 12 and verse number 32. And I read this from the Aramaic English New Testament. It says, "Little flock, do not fear, because your Father desires to give the kingdom to you." The kingdom. I got to tell you, in the approaching election season here in America, where the dirty is broadcast on a daily basis as the accusations between a variety of candidates at the presidential level and the local levels and the state levels, it just gets worse and worse. It would seem that they fall prey to what Yah accused Job of. Are you going to condemn me to justify yourself? So they tell the dirt on their opponent in order to make themselves look better. Oftentimes that backfires. But when it comes to the giving of the kingdom, we're receiving a kingdom that has no evil, that has no darkness in it. We're talking about the approaching of a king who will rule and reign with righteousness and with justice. Tzedakah v'mishpat. These are the themes that we find over and over again in the lives of the patriarchs and throughout the Torah, and that is required for you and I to walk righteously and to walk with justice, to treat one another correctly. It almost never fails that sometime before Sukkot starts, that there is a falling out of some sort. Somebody's going to get their feelings hurt. Someone's going to get angry about some issue. I can't count the number of times that at House of David that we've actually had people to puff up and walk away right on the threshold of Sukkot. And so there's this tainted idea that as we're celebrating that we're missing people unnecessarily. Thankfully, at this point, that has not happened. And I am rejoicing that prayerfully we have grown and matured to some place to where we shouldn't be experiencing this. But it happens. Relationships in community can be a problem. It's when we live together. It's when we walk together. It's when we're involved with each other on a daily basis. That personal whims, personal desires, personal preferences, feelings, priorities, all these things begin to be exposed, and we have issues that rise. It's not the issue that is the problem, it's how we handle them. I have to confess that there are times that I haven't handled them very well. But Yah is teaching us. The kingdom does not come without some sense of stress, some sense of testing, proving. But neither should the kingdom be that which is filled with anxiety and a sense of being overwhelmed and where you want to pull your hair out. Listen to what Rav Shaul said in the book of Romans chapter 14. In verse 17, he says, "For the reign of Elohim is not eating and drinking," which is the main focus of Sukkot for many of us, "but righteousness and peace and joy in the set-apart spirit," in the Ruach HaKodesh. Righteousness. Righteousness is exemplified by how you and I not only think and live, but also how we treat one another. That we treat one another as we want to be treated, with a righteous heart and spirit. And that we walk together in shalom. We use the word translated peace as if it's the absence of turmoil, perfect tranquility. No, shalom is the better understanding, and in the middle of turmoil, there is still the sense of everything is complete, everything is whole, so I don't need to fight over something. And then there's joy. Oh, how you and I need some joy in our lives. May the Ruach HaKodesh fill you this Sukkot season with sheer ecstasy and joy in Him, that you be overwhelmed with the presence of the Most High. We'll continue along these lines again tomorrow. Until then, shalom.